Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. It's been a hot minute, but we're back for episode 5 of the disc swap. I've got Mr. Plywood looking the part over here.
Python, your mission is to reinitiate the disk swap. Should you choose to accept it?
Oh dear. When's this mission? When's this briefing gonna explode on me?
This message will self-destruct in 5, 4. What's up, man?
Hey, it's been a blah. Speaking is hard. It's been a busy couple of weeks. TFA wrapped up earlier this month, which again I can't overstate how grateful I am for all of that. But yeah, just been keeping busy with IRL stuff. That's always been a little hairy for me, but how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Excited to be on cam showing the MGSR shirt. And Python's also wearing everyone's favorite game within the series, a Charon Core shirt from Survive.
Yeah.
You're actually playing the game casually right now, right?
Yeah. I think I'm up to chapter 9 or something like that.
You're getting somewhere.
Yeah. I just rescued a nurse from a chopper at some point. And then a couple of expeditions later, I went out for about half an hour and then died, which was fun.
Oh, that's always good. Yeah, you're really having the survive experience. You go out, you fail to go back to base, and then you get hit 3 times by one zombie and you're dead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's all right. It's a learning experience.
How do you feel about the game so far? Do you feel cautiously optimistic, or do you feel existential horror? Or a combination of both?
I would actually say neither. I'm taking it as it comes, and it's like I'm enjoying it for the most part, but not as a Metal Gear game. It's just kind of a game where I can like zone out and stream it for a couple of hours, and kind of just stream of consciousness it. Whereas I don't really have to think about it too hard. It's basically MGS5 if the missions were less structured.
Yes. What I enjoyed about that game is when you get to a certain point and it becomes like, Harvest Moon, Farmville, I'm tending to my zebras and harvesting them for me by moving my hands in front of the pen and picking random flowers to make pointless medicine out of them. It's good. For what it is, for what that is, that's fun and like chill. Just like people who stream Stardew Valley, though I'm guessing Stardew Valley is probably the more fully featured and well thought out farming simulator.
Yeah,
but,
probably.
Survive is also about living on the farm, living on the land.
Yeah,
drinking dirty water.
Speaking of farms, I don't know if Sergeant Silent is here, but he was hanging out with me over my last session, and I had just unlocked the potato farm, and then I proceeded to immediately eat all of my potatoes, so I couldn't actually make a farm.
Oh no, yeah, that's the first mistake of a novice farmer, eating all your food, and then you're like, oh, I have no seed. I'm screwed. Luckily, you can find a replacement. You can find replacement vegetables for everything, so that's good. But yeah, the farming and cooking system in that game is really bizarre because some things are like super overpowered and like easy to make, and other things are like you need to collect 100 of these, 15 of this extremely rare gallbladder from a bear, and like just for some buff that lasts for like 5 minutes, and it's like, okay, is this necessary, game? No, not at all. But
Yeah,
that's why it's weird. Fun.
Survive is one of them things. It's just a thing, man.
It's just one of those things you have to, get on the saddle, go to DT,
Yeah,
and collect Konami video game tapes. So you can listen to soccer music from the 90s.
Yeah, it's an experience that I would probably say is worth it. Like, even if you're not totally down for the idea, just give it a go. Whether or not you want to support Konami's decisions is up to you guys, but like I don't know, I'm having a bit of fun with it.
Yeah, I would say it's probably more fun than you'd think it would be, but not as much as it could have been. that's the the line of thread that I'm gonna put through my needle on that game. So yeah, TFA 2 has been completed. If anyone has not seen our little update article on MetalGearSpeedrunners.com, we have a highlight reel that our boy Pythonicus made, and we raised $730, correct? 730.
Yeah.
For your movement costs, and I just want to see if we can get an update on how the move all went and getting settled and all that.
Yeah, it's gone well. We are settled for the most part. We're still sifting through boxes here and there, but yeah, everything's in place. Everything's all right.
Nice.
As you can see in my fancy new backdrop.
Windows. I like Windows.
Yeah, I've currently got myself set up in a very noisy, like it's a walled in porch kind of thing, which again is very noisy, but at least it's it's a space of my own, I guess.
It sounded like someone honked for Survive. Was that the case?
Yeah, I got this huge sign out front. Honk if you like Konami.
Honk if your idea of a nice Friday night is playing Metal Gear Survive and spending money to get new character slots. But yeah, so maybe go a little bit on the background of TFA 2. TFA 1 was for raising money so that the three people who were running at the previous AGDQ 2019, Mini Omega King, Airfram, and Tyler could get some money for their travel expenses. And that was a really fun marathon. But we actually blow out completely the amount we raised from TFA 1 with TFA 2, which was really incredible, getting the entire goal met within the first 2 hours of streaming.
Yeah, that was
insane. Absolutely insane. I was dumbfounded. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I thought we were going to meet our goal, but I thought it was going to take, it was going to be a gradual thing over the weekend, not everyone was just going to like dump. You're just like, let's do it now. Let's do it now. We're going to put all the money in now. It's like, wow, thanks guys.
The Monocled Badger, who was one of the, I guess, top contributors to the funding, he's a friend of mine. I've known him for the past few years, through like, I think we originally met through an Australian friend of mine, and we used to play like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, and then shortly after moved over to like Destiny 2 and such. So he and I talk every now and then. He stops by the stream, and he's a good friend. But yeah, it's like throughout most of the event, like Roy, Iridescence, Limes, and several others who rotated in and out. We were all sitting in a voice call in the server, like just watching and talking about it. And like as soon as those big drops happened, it was like, what? What? It was something else, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I was restreaming at the time, and I just see like the bar just jump between MGS3 and Rising. I'm like, oh, okay, this had to be one person because unless there was just in mass donating, and then it just kind of snowballed from there with a few more generous donations.
Mm-hmm.
So really goes to show, and the both the generosity and community support possible even within a smaller community like MGSR is compared to some of the larger player bases of some other speed game series
Mm-hmm.
um, that were just as capable of helping each other out, and even with a smaller scale. So that was really a humbling thing to see, I would say. Really humbling.
Definitely.
Yo, Moobot, it's over. I know you want to keep on helping out, but you did it.
Yeah, as was said during like the closing bits of the event, like whatever that I wasn't using for the move, which pretty much was like the goal was for the move, like everything else was used to get me out to SGDQ. So in a way, TFA 2 isn't too dissimilar from TFA 1 because I was able to sort out travel plans, and I will definitely be out there last week of June. So
Yeah.
big thanks.
Yeah, I gotta say that it was really well, from a production standpoint, things are a little bit suspect. But I would say that it wasn't the most positive experience from a production standpoint. However,
Yeah.
It really didn't matter in the end because the thing we were doing happened,
Mm-hmm.
and we raised the money. So, as long as not everything turns on fire and things explode in the wrong ways, it's fine
Yeah,
because the goal was achieved.
yeah. There's good explosions and then there's bad explosions. We do our best to avoid the bad ones.
It's a mix. It's a mix.
But no, like I'm not sure if we actually went through this on like the marathon itself, but second day, the Saturday, I think it was the 4th. I was supposed to be up bright and early, and apparently at some point throughout that night when I went to bed, my phone completely just vanished, fell off the bed. My alarm was waking up the floorboards, and Iridescence stepped up and got the ball rolling on that, and then you, Plywood, you came in after to set up for what was it, MGS3.
Yep.
Then at that point, I was able to finally take over, and then Discord decided to do Discord things, and
there
I
was
was
some weird like outage with Discord VoIP stuff. So like things just got, and it was like some of us, like, we were affected, and then you were still affected beyond when we were affected.
Mhm.
So then I was like, all right, I guess I'm gonna do RE2 as well. So it's just like a weird, and to top it all off, beforehand we were going to be using speedrun.com's donation and marathon page because
Mhm.
they have a system in place to track bid wars and read comments and that sort of thing. And we learned that they were actually going to take down the system the same weekend we were doing our marathon. So we had to change our setup. Thankfully, it really made no difference in terms of donations, but we still had to scramble a little bit. So it was like there was a set of things just kind of the walls were pressing in, but we didn't get pressed in fully, you know.
Yeah, if there's anything that we at MGSR are constantly having to deal with, it's technical problems, like personal streams, the community channel, just and also on the note of technical, well, maybe not difficulties, but the fixing thereof. Roy Chuza, our tech team is top notch. They definitely deserve a hand for that.
Don't want to overblow the mic, so I'll just do one of these little golf claps.
Oh,
That looked like a
ole.
one of those ole. Yeah. We're of course trying to keep on improving the technology with the help of people who know a lot better than I do. And it just comes with the territory with online marathons that there's just more potential points of failure compared to a live event. Not that a live event can have problems of its own,
Right.
but when everyone's there in the same room, you don't have the issue of distance and then like other servers you have to deal with, because when you have Discord, you have everyone's internet connection, then you have the server we're using, then you have Twitch, so and then the scheduling and everyone has to show up when they need to, versus like if it's a live event, well, and you're in the same hotel, it's a little bit easier to, I guess, organize things.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, people could still not show up, but
yeah. And on that note, we had Ruckus, we had Iridescence, and we had another good friend of mine, Nikos Studios from New Zealand. So we had people from literally halfway across the world doing this, and that required some workarounds. But we have things in the pipeline for that for future events. Iridescence has made some steps in that sort of vein. So we'll see where that we'll see where that leads us.
Oceania, we're coming at you with support, so it's not like so it doesn't feel like you're streaming from halfway across the world, It's like, it's so cute we got the Australians and New Zealanders helping us out, and it's like, no, we're gonna set up MGSR Oceania. So look forward to again, more improvements. We got some hush hush secret stuff in the works to keep on making this community channel better and better. And then we'll plateau. And it'll be a very happy plateau, a good even plateau, high up off the ground. We won't have to climb anymore. I prefer that.
Would be nice.
Yes. So I think that's probably about it for TFA2, unless you have anything else you'd like to mention. Any good things? I mean, I know you got some PBs during the marathon. Personally.
Oh yeah. So there were five records set during that marathon, which I think is a marathon record in general. But yeah, D Limes struck first with MGS2 during the race we had. Then there was, and the rest of it's all me, by the way. Just putting that out there.
you had like that energy. It was like everyone was giving you that energy, and you were just amassing it and just like outputting it. That was incredible, you know? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it was Portable Ops. Unfortunately, I can't actually have that verified because some shenanigans with a local recording that I may or may not have deleted. But I got a 4313 in that. I got a 7 and change in Portable Ops Plus. Minnie and I, we were so very close to the sub 230 on Peace Walker co-op, and then managed an IL record during that for the co-op only strats for Torture Escape. And then what else was there? There was one more.
PO Plus, Peace Walker IL,
Nope, that's all.
and
Okay, yeah.
MGS2.
Yeah, that is it.
Ruckus got a PB in Katana Zero.
Mm-hmm.
I think a few people got some PBs, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Our boy Roy, I think, did his first Metal Gear Solid 2 Substance run on PC. We didn't get to see the end score there, but you know, first run always PB, so that's cool. And I know he's been doing some MGS2 Substance recently. 119, nice. So yeah, it was a healthy stream in terms of the improvements, personal and otherwise, to the world. So
Yeah.
that's cool.
And Plywood, I'm not sure if you were there for that, but before the Portable Ops run, I engaged in some shenanigan.
You just engaged in some vocal shenanigans right there as well. What are we talking here? What are we talking here?
So I think you'll remember before the very thing I did before my finally Tsushinoko happened. By the way, I'm not sure if we've had a show since then, but Tsushinoko has happened. I managed a 48 something, and now Jag has got 46, 44, something like that. So there's now 2 Tsuchinoko runs out there. But before the Tsuchinoko run happened, I did something dumb and wonderful. So on my PlayStation TV, we play the PAL version of MPO for time saves, and you know, for some reason, I seem to have a copy of MGS1 PAL, and so before my run, I was chatting up Forensic because he was the restreamer at the time, and he was taking us throughout the rest of the night, and so I chatted with him. I'm like, "You mind if I do a little prank here?" He's like, "How long is it gonna be?" I'm like, "Nah, probably not longer than a minute." Turns out Docs takes about 3.5 minutes on PAL. But yeah, I did a quick Docs % run of MGS1 PAL. It was a good time.
I was about to leave the room and end the podcast early, but you know, I stopped myself. So, because full disclosure, everyone, I was pretty much ready to get knocked out since I was streaming for like 12 hours. So I pretty much the moment I can't remember. I think the last thing I did was Twin Snakes, and then I was like, all right, I need to like walk away from the computer. And then I think I like checked in on the stream just to see, okay, Portable Ops is happening. So I didn't see this prank. I was not aware of this. That's good though. Everyone, if you want to experience something bizarre, play MGS1 on PAL if you're North American, because you'll be like, oh boy, what is this? Why is everything feel like the game is drunk and really slow?
Yeah, it's I mean, if you want an experience while playing Metal Gear, you've got a couple of options. You can go for Survive, you can go for MGS1 and PAL, you can,
you could experience good things, or you can experience the other kinds of experiences out there.
So yeah, so this week has, well, maybe not this week, but this stretch of time has been busy for the community.
It's been very productive in multiple games, and that's what the major topics of this podcast are going to be. We're going to be covering some world record improvements and some new runs in the community.
Yeah. So right off the bat, we have one that's actually stood for some time now.
This is huge, absolutely massive.
Yeah. The MSX Metal Gear Big Boss world record has been conquered. 3 years standing, no longer a thing. Well, I mean, it's still a thing, but Jag has managed a sub 26 in Metal Gear 1. That is, I haven't been able to watch the run personally, but that's something.
It really is.
He was a deft avoider of scorpions.
Yeah, so the original record was held by Poochie Darcy, a 2640 on the PAL version, the PAL PS2 version, which is the fastest version you can play of Metal Gear MSX. And for those who watch Jaguar King's stream, you probably know already that just getting a big boss run in Metal Gear MSX has been like his white whale. It's been the thing he hasn't been able to do. He got Metal Gear Solid 4, Big Boss, New Game, TBE before he got this. So like this is how long it's been going on. It's been going on for probably, a couple years or at least a year that I've been seeing him trying doing this, every once in a while. He hasn't been like constantly grinding for it. And he got this offline run that just completely blew the old record out of the water. And the big boss rank on Metal Gear 1 is super unfair. It's really, really unfair. It's not balanced super well compared to Metal Gear 2, which is like pretty forgiving.
Yeah, it's more lenient.
Yeah, way more lenient. Because you've got the Hell Roof, as the runners call it, with the jetpack guards shooting bullets at you. The aforementioned scorpions, which if you get poisoned by a scorpion, your run's just over, and those scorpions are random. And there's a guard who likes to run at a plastic explosive and kill himself. And if you get any kills, you don't get Big Boss. So it's always been one thing, another thing, or another thing preventing Jaguar from getting a single segment Big Boss run. And he finally conquered it. And it's really something both to praise and kind of be dumbstruck by, because a record that's been standing for 3 years, there's not a lot of records in the Metal Gear series that have stood really, really long. I think the other one that comes to mind is it's a lot of the 2D games. Snake's Revenge, that any percent record has stood for some time, also by Jaguar. And the Metal Gear NES record has stood for some years as well by Dunnius.
Mm-hmm.
So, and now one of the long-standing records has been beaten, and that's great. I'm really happy.
Some incredible stuff. Yeah, I think the longest standing 3D one that I can think of would either be 2 or 3 with Slade or Mr. Snock. With the European Extreme runs, both of those have been around for a hot minute. Slade's been beaten since by Tyler, and I think Jag also has a time better at this point, doesn't he?
Let me check. Yeah, it has to be for the solid games like 3 or 4. I don't know how long Snock's MGS4 New Game Plus record has stood. Um, I think Slade's run was a loading trick run, so they're not even compared anymore. But Jags has got a 135 and Slade is a 132. But loading trick to non-loading trick, so
yeah,
pretty comparable in time, actually, if you remove the faster loads.
Yeah, and speaking of MGS2, just real quick, the European Extreme record has been broken yet again by Tyler 2 days ago. In fact, I knew about it and then I promptly forgot about it, and then I just remembered because I'm looking at it. So congrats to Tyler for putting in that work, doing the thing. MGS2 maniac.
Yep, a 1:30:34 in-game time. Not sub 90, but still very impressive because I believe his previous time was a 1:31. Mm-hmm. So we've gotten to the 1:30 mark. I mean, Tyler has really demonstrated himself to be a very competent and strong MGS2 runner. He's really put in the time, the effort, the energy to go as far as he can with this game, not only on HD Collection, but the other versions of the game as well, Sons of Liberty and Substance. And to see the HD Collection getting improved some more is always good. We actually have some new strategies that he's been implementing into his run. I think the biggest one, I think the coolest one to me, granted, I don't know if his previous personal best had this, but the Strut D on New Game Plus, when executed well, is really cool to watch.
Yeah, pulling that out during HDQ, that was that was a moment for sure. For like, just the entire show was watching that just unfold and happen, and you keeping pace with the commentary on it.
It took a lot of practice just to get that down. Both for Tyler doing it and then for me to like keep up with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, really incredible. And the funny thing is with that run that Tyler did, his splits, he had some split snafu at around Ames, so no one knew what his pace was going into the end. So it was just like the run was happening. And he apparently had an incredible raise. And for those who are unaware, the raise fight on European Extreme is really the climax of the run. Over 5 minutes of intense action, especially since Tyler does not pick up the Bonnie armor anymore. So literally anything the Rays do will kill him in one hit. Mm-hmm. So to do that without any security and to go risky and put it all on the line with a better and faster strat, that's crazy. And everyone's just like sitting in their seats like, I think he's going to get record, but I have no idea. I don't know what this is going to be.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but like running without your splits, sometimes it's terrible. Sometimes it's, you just do things and it works out. Like, I guess it's the lack of pressure from seeing, you know, oh, this one's green, this one might be gold, but this one's red, and you know, it removes an element of pressure from it, and I think that's a lot of what helps. Like you said, especially with like a thing like Rays, you're not, in that case, you're not really focused on anything else at that point, because in a normal speed run with your splits open and everything, you know, you're kind of thinking in the back of your head somewhere, right? I need to do this quickly. I need to get this done. I need to not screw up. Whereas without the splits, you're like, okay, well, just focus.
Exactly. I'm sure he was aware that he was on good pace and had that big boss, but not having to look at that additional layer of information.
Hmm.
You know, some runners have done this before. Um, it's not super uncommon that some runners will actually, if they're really like deep into a speed game, they're going for world record improvements or whatever, they'll still have their splits open potentially. They'll split, but they will like have it hidden so they don't even look at it. They
Right.
just split when they need to and just play the game. And you know, speedrunning isn't just the actions of the inputs, it's also a psychological thing. Um, where you could be fighting your own, history with the game. And I think for Tyler that, again, it wasn't intentional for him to lose his splits, but I mean, when you're, multiple years deep into a speed game and, you have all this history and improvements and all that, like that can kind of add up.
Yeah. And Copper says psychological warfare, and it's not incorrect.
Nope.
But
So congrats again to Tyler on that.
yes.
Um, and we're not even done with MGS2, y'all. It keeps on going. We've got some improvements the past few days. It's been going on between myself and D Limes 13 on the Sons of Liberty normal version.
Hmm.
We've been chipping away at that block. So I got a 116.43 in game time. Then D Limes, then I got a 115.27. D Limes almost beat the 16.43, but he lost by like a couple seconds.
Mm.
And then he came back with a 115 flat, almost the 114 in game time, which is kind of where we'd like to see the game end up. A 14 would be pretty good. I don't know how we're going to get a sub 14. So, um, a lot of fun developments there. I don't think Python you've run the Sons of Liberty version before. That's correct, right?
Not since about 2007. No, no. I no longer have a PS2 to even try, unfortunately. But no, it's been a very long time since I've had a PS2 copy of the game. But no, like these these times are getting down there, and it is worth. I think it's worth mentioning that the Sons of Liberty copy for North America specifically, it counts IGT really strangely, right? Something to the effect of like 7 minutes faster than like RTA, or maybe more.
It's
But
about that, yeah.
but yeah, no, seeing almost PC like times on a console is kind of pretty cool.
Yeah, the crazy thing is, so we recently implemented an RTA system for final hit on Solidus is the end of real time. And the crazy thing is, uh, D-Line's soul run is faster by 11 seconds than his no loading trick HD collection run,
Hmm.
which is, it sounds very weird given that the loads are pretty poor on a PS2, but the reality is there's a lot of like weird differences with Soul,
Yeah.
along with some skips, some out of bounds. Certain bosses have less HP on normal. The positions of certain items are closer to you. There's some things that work against you, but a lot of it actually works up in your favor. That Soul, in a way, is faster than HD collection, um, subtracting out loading trick. I think
Mm.
if you get loading trick, then HD collection loads pretty fast. But It's really weird that in like just a couple of years now, Sons of Liberty is practically just as fast real time as HD collection. Just it blows my mind.
Yeah. Sons of Liberty has been this weird case this whole time. Like you were just saying, RTA roughly similar to HD, IGT roughly similar to PC. It's mind-boggling, and like you guys have version specific strats you have to use as well. Like in case anyone is familiar with like the swim in air glitch for HD collection, that is completely different in SOL because of for that one you can literally just lie down in front of an elevator and use it and you drop out of bounds pretty much.
Yeah, it's so much faster than the swimming in air. Because you and the other really nice thing about it is by doing that, you're not encountering swimming in PS2, which is like horrendously laggy. I mean, it looks nice with the blur effect that the PS2 does, but it is really slow swimming on PS2. I can't emphasize enough. So instead of swimming, we're just like, I'm just gonna walk to wherever I need to go. I'm just gonna walk instead.
Just cartwheel underwater. It's so easy.
Yeah, shout outs to underwater smoking, because you can underwater smoke in MGS2 Sons of Liberty. Completely unintentional, of course. And then beyond that, that elevator clip, for instance, Rays is shorter on normal for Sons of Liberty. You only have to clear the first 5 rays, so AO1 to AO5.
Mm-hmm.
And the rays on Sons of Liberty US don't really function as they really should. With the lock-on boxes, they'll appear earlier than really they should with the iframes. So your technique with it has to be a bit different because you have to account for this. Or, I think on the other versions, when a ray is coming to the stage, like they're coming from the background, you can't lock on. But you can like their lock-on boxes are still there on Sons of Liberty.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure you don't like accidentally lock onto a ray you can't even hit. So it's a little bit weird. That's like the one thing about Sons of Liberty US that is not so fun is the weird ray stuff. But otherwise,
I mean, it's very much like a 1.0 version of the game. And it's like, while it's still good, it's just they improved on it when they released Substance. It's unpatched, basically.
Yeah, they patched the game. That was literally the first release of the game. So
they patched the game and sold it to us for $40. But no, it's really interesting to see the differences between Sons of Liberty and subsequent release.
Yeah, and the unpatched nature of Sons of Liberty leaves it to being a pretty neat speed game because of it. Typically the more broken releases of games create some unique opportunities for gameplay, such as the Tango 2 skip with the coolant spray. You can do that on the other versions of the game, but it's way less consistent. And it's always fun to watch Tengus do the hand wave while they get sprayed down. So yeah, Sons of Liberty US, y'all.
Yeah, so it's pretty good. If you got a PS2, give it a look. I wouldn't suggest emulating though. PS2 emulator doesn't like Tanker, doesn't like Heliport. There's a few places that it just does not want anything to do with.
Or that backwards compatible PS3 if yours hasn't yellow lighted death, you can do that as well. But yeah, a couple of us, D-Limes, Tyler, myself, have been compiling some more information for the Soul version, for the wiki, work in progress since continuing to find stuff out for that version. But as we complete that and work on it, hopefully it will help people be able to navigate the weirdness, especially if you're coming from a different version of the game. It can be kind of jarring, both the crazy amounts of lag in the game that you have to deal with and the just strange inconsistencies that you're like, why is this different? Why is Fat Man's bomb on the heliport like half the distance? Like they just wanted to, and then they're like, let's move it up for the other releases. Okay. I guess to make it a little bit harder since, you have less time. Like, okay. Weird balancing stuff.
Yeah. No. Sons of Liberty, everybody.
Sons of Liberty. Soul US. It's got a lot of soul.
It sure does. But not moving too far away, we got Twin Snakes with another something mind-blowing. Alien, who is, of course, one of the top runners for that, has crushed out a 5347 on normal. And I can remember not too long ago, sub-hour was the mark you wanted, and now it's down to below even 55 minutes, which is nuts.
Yeah. When I started running the game, it was like that sub-hour mark that we were all looking to get on console. About 2 years ago or whatever. For RTA, that is.
Mm-hmm.
And now the game has gone so far that we are now able to see a 55-minute run RTA with the 53-minute IGT. Just to put that into perspective, a full game run of the original game on all bosses is more, it's almost, around 90 minutes. It can go lower to like 86, 87 minutes depending on the version, but it's about 90 minutes. So that's how much of a gulf there is between these versions. And Alien implemented a new skip. Well, it's not really new, but it's so challenging that none of the top runners have wanted to go for it. That involves breaking a story flag in the prison with a very precise roll onto your equipment by the torture bed. By doing that, you can screw up the story flags and skip a codec and cutscene before the disc change, the disc swap, in the underground passage. But this roll, I mean, I've tried it out. It is one of the most precise things I've seen in a Metal Gear speedrun by far.
Yeah.
You go too far to the left, you go too far to the right, you roll too late, you roll too early. That's it. And you get one chance at it during a run. So there is an easier version of it, but it doesn't give as much time save as the juicy prison roll. And Erling got in that run and had a competent run as well, and got that 53.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Throughout the last few events, I think the last 3 events we've had Twin Snakes on, Alien and Blue Metal, very, very commonly race during these events. And I think during the last 3, they've gone for this this prison roll, and I think 2 out of the 3 times, one of them got so close they were literally touching the box before that cutscene started. Like, it is that precise. And it's kind of heartbreaking when it fails like that, because the hitbox for picking up the item is right there. It's right there, and they just came up like a pixel or two too short.
Mm-hmm.
It's nuts.
Yeah. Thankfully for everyone who's like, oh my god, this game sounds like super hard. It is at a high level, but you don't need to do that to get a good time. But it's something that was figured out because the game was getting to the point where times were getting so close, and your execution and luck had to be so good to get like really phenomenal times. But with this additional 20-second time save, it's about 20 seconds, a little over, which is massive when we're talking a game as optimized as Twin Snakes. That makes a huge difference. But the nice thing about the Twin Snakes speedrun, from personal experience, is that you can start off very simply because the game is really not that bad, not too complicated, and then you can add in the layers of complexity. That prison roll thing, I haven't run the game again since that's been found, but in part out of fear. That's like, oh gosh, I probably should implement this, but holy guacamole, that looks really hard.
Yeah.
But if people are interested in learning the game, you don't need to do that. It's just really cool when it can happen and does happen, and we can see this game just we've cut minutes and minutes off of it in the past 2 years. It's thanks to the efforts of the TTS runners, people trying to find new methods of saving time in the game. Because before, there really wasn't a lot of glitches or sequence breaks. It was pretty straightforward. But with this implementation of like the prison skip, of course the door glitch in Nuke Building 1F and other stuff, along with the ninja skip, being able to skip most of the phases of the ninja fight and keeping them in phase 1, the game has changed quite a bit. So really cool. Really cool.
And just that ninja fight, like, you guys have been skipping phases for a very long time now, about probably what, a year and a half maybe, and even so that continues to evolve. Like, I don't think I've seen anything change quite as often as that ninja fight. It's silly, but yeah.
And Mantis.
Oh yeah, Mantis too. Yeah,
Mantis never ends. We keep on trying to keep on finding new ways to manipulate him and make the fight more fast and more crazy. There's now I can't even say at this point how many different ways I've done Mantis. It's like, oh, here's this new faster way. No, here's this new faster way. All right, here's this new faster way. Well, here's this safer but faster way. Well, you can do it this way as well. And we've gone lethal, non-lethal, lethal, non-lethal. It's like, we're still not done.
Of course not.
It's never done. So really cool.
Twin Snakes is another very recommendable speed game, especially if you're any sort of familiar with MGS2 mechanics. I mean, you'd probably feel right at home. And our boy Metal Glenn Solid has been taking an interest in it lately, getting himself mired in the ranks over there. Has he gotten his sub hour yet?
He got very close. He and Sylvan he is 1 second behind Sylvan in IGT. So Sylvan has a 10011, and Glenn has a 10012.
Wow.
So we got a couple of people who were on the cusp of sub-hour IGT, the sub-hour club for normal.
Mhm.
At the very least, it's never been easier. It's so, but at the same time, the game offers a lot of weirdness and challenges the more you look into it. Just like MGS2, or
Mhm.
the MGS2 is just a really bizarre game when you really start getting familiar with it, and just weird stuff starts to happen when you start like really testing the limits of the game, you know?
And the funniest part about that is the more familiar you do get with the game, the less you find it bizarre. You're like, oh, that's just a thing.
It's just MGS2. Okay. Whatever.
But yeah, in case anyone's wondering, Glenn actually he started during AGDQ during that week, and his original goal was to beat Caleb Hart's time, which is a 102.21. It looks like from IGT,
Mm-hmm.
and he's accomplished that. And I think he's still continuing to run. So I think he's got the Twin Snakes bug, at least a little bit.
You know, sub hour is very, very appealing. It's something that like, you want to just grab it, take it, join the club. There's I think one, two, three, yeah, five of us. Aurelian Blue, myself, Tyler, and Furry, who all have sub-hour IGTs. And I know Tyler is interested in coming back to Twin Snakes to improve his time, try to challenge my third place stay. I've been in third place sitting pretty in third place for months on end because, Blue and Aurelian, they're insane. I am not as insane, but just insane enough to maintain my position. Um, so yeah, it's an exciting time for Twin Snakes to see how far the game can be pushed, and it still can be pushed. Maybe not as much on normal, but extreme is still uh has no implementation of this prison skip. But extreme, not only do you have to now do that prison skip to get really nice times, you have to worry about the tank
The tank.
and the first 10 minutes of the run, plus then not screwing up game over if discovered, and then doing this ultra precise roll to save 20 seconds. There's room to grow, but it's very scary room to grow.
Yeah. So, on less scary topics, Iridescence has done a thing with MGS3. He's been routing very easy, a little bit more closely. Been taking notes, been doing a bunch of stuff with it, and he has now obtained a 122.24, which is a category record. I haven't honestly been following too closely with MGS3. I kind of learned it and then kind of dropped off, at least for the time being, because I have other focus, other things I'm focusing on at the moment. But yeah, no, the leaderboard has finally been split, and Iridescence took full advantage with a 122.24.
Yep, and I think his goal is to get a time faster than Mr. Snock's 119.25, which has stood for over 2 years now on European Extreme, a really incredible run. But we wanted to highlight the effort and energy into the other difficulties for MGS3. Iridescences 122.24, trying to find those very easy route improvements. For instance, the Ocelot unit is a bit different in how you approach stunning the unit. He actually throws a stun up to the guard on the roof which is pretty cool, along with some other tricky stuff to improve lines that you wouldn't be able to do on European Extreme.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty nice stuff. Definitely, I've had interest in learning MGS3 since it's one of my favorite games in the series, but it's always like, I'll get to it eventually once I'm done with X, Y, or Z.
It's exactly the same with me right now. I've been learning MGS4 very, very slowly. Less for the same reason, but more because I like MGS4 as a concept, but I sometimes just don't want to look at it. Like, I don't have anything really against the game. It's logs on at dead points, but sometimes I don't be bothered.
I feel like the cover of Old Snake looking old and annoyed. That's how he feels when you say that about that game. He's just like, oh, you don't like looking at this, huh? You don't like looking at MGS4. I still gotta replay that game. I haven't played it since like 10 years ago. I feel like it'd be more fun to play without the cutscenes, but I gotta get the whole experience of people talking over concept art for 20 minutes.
Yeah, well, I just realized that I fulfilled a potential bingo spot for Sergeant Silent. Smack talking MGS4 again on the show.
Poor MGS4. Can't catch a break.
That's like the center square for a show for a bingo board
space. Look at these Solid 1 and Solid 2 runners trash talking MGS4. What else is new? Oh my gosh. The elitism in this community. I think from when I remember playing that game, I really enjoyed the gameplay. So maybe the speedrun, it's like you're kind of cutting out the middleman being the story. So I don't know. It could be interesting. I don't want to, and just before anyone's like, hey, don't be so mean. Nah, every game in the series can and should be run.
Yes.
And this is kind of why we brought up a very easy run in our news, because even though Iridescence's run is not as optimized as Mr. Snock's, it's something to highlight that difficulties in games that are not as run don't have as much attention paid to it as, say, like MGS2, which like has had a constant stream of activity this year, should receive that attention.
Yes, of course. Yeah, no, it's definitely something to keep an eye on, especially if you're interested in learning the game. Like, now is a pretty good time. Like I said, the leaderboard has just been split not too long ago, I think within the last couple of weeks. And so if you were looking at the boards earlier and being like, well, there's a 119 on European Extreme, I'm not that good, don't worry about it. That's not what it's about. Just enjoy the process. Learn, grow, do,
Yep, exactly. And there's been a fair amount of effort in trying to improve the routes and look into the routes for normal and very easy, because European Extreme, I'm kind of a layman when it comes into the MGS3 stuff, but it's been pretty settled as far as like that game has been deconstructed, reconstructed, built into a giant tower, crumbled again. They rebuilt the tower. With European Extreme, there's not a whole lot left.
Yeah,
because that game is actually pretty short when you look at it, in terms of the areas that you actually have control of your time. So, but the other difficulties have their own, their own juices flowing through them that have to be examined.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, congrats to Iridescence on his MGS3 time. I hope to see that sub 20 from our boy Iridescence. It'd be really cool to see that contender and perhaps even a faster time than Mr. Snock with VE. That'd be really cool to see a new PS3 time with that cut,
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like he's pretty close at this point. He has been as much free time as he can. He's pouring into like MGS2 and MGS3. I think he's kind of reeled it back a little bit for 3 over the past couple of days. I've noticed, but yeah, he's definitely capable of it. I feel like
definitely. And I think we'll enter the final topic for our podcast for today, and more or less a preview of what should be the next podcast, and that is Metal Gear Acid.
yes.
It's time for you all to pass the acid test because Copper Tank certainly has, with his New Game Plus normal run of 3 hours, 19 minutes, 23 seconds, which he wants to improve to get that sub 3. And if you haven't been following Copper's channel, he's been working on the New Game Plus route for Metal Gear Acid over the past few months and has finally not only completed the routing, but has done a run. And I can definitely recommend the Acid New Game Plus page on our wiki because Copper has done an incredible job of maintaining excellent notes on the deck changes between stage to stage, the strategies involved, made it very pretty with some nice HTML and CSS. Really an exemplary page on the wiki, to say the least. And now he has finally gone and done a run. He was surprised with how short the run actually was and how fast it can be, especially when you compare Casino Coins new game run, which is like 7 hours long, by far the longest run of any game in the series at this point.
Yeah.
So really impressive from Copper Tank.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no. And huge commendations for both Casino Coin and Copper Tank. Both of them pretty much from scratch, hand routed both of these categories. And like I wasn't there for the start of Copper's journey, but I was fairly regular in the last few, and man, he did put a lot of effort into what he was doing. Like just testing possibilities, I lost track of how many times he loaded save states on that. Like just thinking of things, trying them out, noting it down, what happened, trying it again, because Acid, card game, random, can't always rely on it to give you what you need at, the points where you need them. So he took that into account, and it's just incredible.
It really is. We're not just saying it to poof it up, because Acid was, and Acid 2 still is, but Acid 1 was essentially no man's land. No one had really gone into it because it's so different from everything else in the series. Like, I would say Survive is way more in line with the series than Acid is in a way, just
Yeah.
because it's the same, it's the Fox engine, so there's some transferable skills between like Phantom Pain and Ground Zeroes, but um Acid is just a Metal Gear card game where it's like you're stealthy, but you have like this deck you build, and the game's pretty long. So no one's touched it until like really seriously touched it in a RTA speedrunning way until Casino Coin and Copper. Acid 2 still a big question mark. I know Copper is interested in looking into Acid 2 after he's satisfied with Acid 1. I'm sure he'll probably have some choice words for that when he is showing up on this podcast in the future.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Marlon might have already started taking a look into Acid 2 at some point. But let's be real, Marlon, let's talk about him for a moment here. He is an unsung hero for like all of the portable MG games. Like
He's the PSP guy, really.
Really, he is. Peace Walker, Portable Ops, MPO Plus, the Acid games, you name it. He's got himself some knowledge. Like
He's put his hand in the pie a few times. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, like without him, I'm pretty sure we'd still be searching for Tsuchinoko and MPO. He's put a lot of work into a lot of things. He's fairly quiet around the server, but anyone in the know knows he's the one.
Absolutely, and he did some work into Acid in the past. I know he was, head over heels excited for the work that Casino and Copper put in, the double C's, into Acid 1. So, if Copper actually routes out Acid 2 this year, I'm not saying you have to, Copper. I'm just saying, if you did, we could call 2019 the year of Acid. I think we could officially say that, because that would be rather impressive. Because, again, Acid games, they are the final frontier in Metal Gear speedrunning. Pretty much all the other games, aside from like Metal Gear Mobile on Nokia, have been routed out, looked into in a single segment, real time context. So we'll see where that goes.
Even random Android games that are completely freaking broken have been looked into more than Acid 2 at this point.
Yep.
Thanks, Iridescence.
Yeah. Metal Gear Outer Haven. Yeah, we didn't mention that run, but there is, I guess that could be our surprise left hook at the end here, that Iridescence found an Android fan game that made it very, very clear that it was non-for-profit fan game, and has like I'm gonna look this up, so I don't want to misrepresent his excellent time, because there is a board for this Metal Gear Outer Haven on it. Oh wait, he didn't even put his run up here. Okay, you're getting called out, Iridescence. You don't even have your world record run on the board. This is insufferable. It's like 3 minutes. All right, there you go. It's like 3 minutes.
If you haven't seen this game, I think he's got a highlight of it on his channel. Please check it out. It's worth your time. It's a thing to behold.
When I watched it, I was like, I gotta host this. People have to know about this fan game, where there's one guy, the developer, who voices everyone. And it's his big boss is really knock out of the park, grand slam.
It's like the logical evolution of Newgrounds is poorly made Android games.
Yes, that's exactly right. We went from sitting in Newgrounds playing Pico or whatever to Metal Gear Outer Haven. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I did spend a fair amount of time on Newgrounds watching Metal Gear fan flashes, like Metal Gear Fiesta and um, things like that. So that's really something. That's the future of Metal Gear, is poorly made Android fan games.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we say poorly made, but this was a one-man effort, so I guess there's merit in that. But
yeah, respect to the person who made it. Obviously, it's clearly a labor of love.
mm-hmm.
A labor of love that is only 3 minutes long in a speed run, but a labor of love nonetheless. And we have to I guess I'll give props to Iridescence for doing a run of it. Too bad it's not on the board. It's not official. Gotta get some official recognition for your Metal Gear Outer Haven, not Outer Heaven, Outer Haven speedrun.
We ain't some shabby 2-bit outfit. We gotta take pride in our work. But yeah, I think that's composure. I think that'll about do it for this show. Unless you got something else hitting up those MGSR sleeves of yours, Plywood.
Well, we are going to have a Sons of Liberty normal race between D-Limes and myself after this podcast is over. So stick around for some MGS2. I know we talked a little bit about Sons of Liberty. Well, now we're going to be able to see it in action, and that'll be a fun little time as a little second part of this show. I think the next episode of this podcast should be next week. I don't want to talk too soon, but between Copper and Python about acid, but we'll see. I don't want to speak for that.
Yeah, look, we aim for every 2 weeks, but if next week happens to be the most convenient time, then we'll do it next week. So yeah. But thank you guys for hanging out with us as we talked some Metal Gear speedrunning. As always, if you are at all interested in speedrunning these games, we've got our Discord, which you can find, well, conveniently there in chat, thanks to Roy and Moobot working in tandem.
Or the panels.
And we've also got our website, MetalGearSpeedrunners.com. There's a link to literally every resource we've got on that website. So if you want to get in on this action, just head right there and you'll find us in our entirety, basically.
Unless you're trying to run Metal Gear Outer Heaven. There's no information about Metal Gear Outer Haven on our website. Sorry, Iridescence. That's going to be on you.
But yeah, that'll do it for the talky bits. Stay tuned. We're gonna cut for a few to get set up with the race. And thanks, Plywood, for coming on the show, talking, chatting.
Thank you for having me on. It was a blast.
Yeah. So we'll see you guys next time, or in a little bit, either or.
Whichever. The disc swap, everyone.